Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am not here with Geeky Sparkles. She will be back later today, but we're going to talk about tabletop gaming again. It seems like I've been talking more about tabletop gaming in the last couple months than we have in the last couple of years, and a lot of that just seems like a lot of the drama and the politics and the infighting and the backbiting in this industry is starting to bleed out. So much so that normies like myself are paying attention to it. And, you know, I kind of got involved accidentally in some tabletop drama when I simply questioned what was going on with Wizards of the Coast and this push that they have for making, apologizing for orcs and putting prom and D&D and all this stuff and suggesting that people find some other alternatives. I got dragged into this situation. This is coming from a guy who is a lapsed gamer. I used to game pretty heavily back in the day, but I really haven't, since getting married, having kids, having a life. I haven't really had a lot of time to. And my kids wanted to get into D&D. They wanted to get into tabletop, and we took a look at the situation. We're like, when did tabletop go so crazy? When did orcs become racist? When did we need sensitivity readers for dungeon crawling adventures? You know, it's kind of like, this is kind of odd. But then I took a look at the community and I was like, oh my God, there's some really vicious people, really, really vicious people gatekeeping this industry right now. I mean, it's so funny because they're saying that, us old heads, that we old heads are the gatekeepers, but I have seen some serious gatekeeping, and we saw it, firsthand with the TSR situation. I think we kind of were somewhat responsible for, bringing new TSR to light. I was excited to see them come back, especially with everything else going on in tabletop right now. I'm like, finally, maybe we get some of the old crew back together and we can just kind of keep the politics out of things and move forward. And they got blasted almost immediately by Twitter, by, certain gaming forums. They were banned from Gen Con because of their refusal to bend the knee on Twitter. And there was a lot of drama around that. They parted ways with the guy who was running their social media account. And that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But here we are again. The Gaming Goat, which is, I believe, a pretty sizable tabletop gaming retailer / publisher, has had their CEO escorted out of Gen Con. There's been a lot of drama about Gen Con. Again, TSR, prime example. They were basically told they're not invited. They're never going to be welcome at Gen Con. And Gen Con was literally founded by Gary Gygax, and Ernie Gygax is associated with TSR. That's his son. Because of some tweets, some people were like, oh, I feel really unsafe having TSR at Gen Con. TSR, which was the original version of TSR, was vital to the formation of Gen Con. And then a couple of years ago, Jeremy Hambley, the quartering YouTuber, said some things that one of the exhibitors at Gen Con did not like, and he got punched in the head at a bar outside Gen Con after multiple threats. And as I recall, Gen Con banned the quartering for causing problems or something. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. Gen Con is kind of a lost cause, but here we are again. And the problem with this, as I understand it, was that they are kickstarting a game right now that has a frog on the box that looks like he could be making the OK symbol. But as I understand it, that frog was actually a real life photo. We're going to talk about that. So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Over 235,000 subs. Thank you for the support. We do talk about tabletop gaming as it relates to pop culture and all the craziness going on with social media right now, the hyper-political environment that we all find ourselves in when it comes to hobbies, gaming and video games and comic books. And I got to be honest, we deal with some crazies in comic books, but it's nothing compared to the tabletop scene. I mean, these people are absolutely vicious, and I don't know where they came from. Because, again, I used to game back in the day, and we were used to being on the receiving end of a lot of criticism. We had a lot of hyper Christians trying to shut down Dungeons and Dragons, claiming it was satanic, despite a lot of that material being written by Christians, believe it or not. And so we had to deal with all that. Now we got to deal with these people. And they've seemingly taken over the hobby because they're everywhere. Like, tabletop is one of the quote-unquote wokest scenes out there, more so than comics. I'm going to be completely honest. The comic book industry, as crazy as some of the people can be, in terms of gatekeeping, nothing compared to what I've seen just in the last couple months, in tabletop. We've seen some stuff like this in video games. And I think the bigger the scene is, the more reach the scene has. Maybe it's because comics don't have as much reach as they used to, but tabletop is coming up right now. Maybe that's why. Same with video games, but we see more craziness from that scene, from the gaming scene, than we do from comics. So here we go. This guy, Gaming Goat CEO, was escorted out of Gen Con. Gen Con 2021 starts tomorrow. Well, that would have been yesterday. At reduced capacity with self-imposed 50% cap on attendance, obviously, during these unprecedented times. As most people know, Gen Con 2020 was canceled, along with just about every other convention, due to the ongoing pandemic. So this is the first convention for them in 2 years. However, this year's event hasn't started yet, and it's already making news. In a public post on his Facebook page today, the CEO of the Gaming Goat, Jeff Berggren, said that he was escorted out of the convention. He posted that he has no word from Gen Con's management as to why he was evicted. He later commented, "I'm $40,000 into this. I flew 4 hours to get here." He said he would have someone send me an email. I refreshed and no email. The floor manager who escorted him out of the convention simply said, "I'm just here to walk you out," and someone would email him. Gen Con hasn't made a public statement about Berggren's eviction other than a post on their forums. Berggren will not be attending Gen Con. We appreciate those who have provided information regarding the situation. So we take our anti-harassment policies seriously. We do not discuss the results of our decision-making with the public for all the safety involved. Berggren has been making news lately after an image on his tournament fishing Kickstarter page contained an image showing a frog making what looks to be the OK hand signal, which has a history as a racist dog whistle used by white nationalists. It's actually not entirely true, even according to the ADL website. It was a joke to see how gullible and how stupid the media was, and how gullible and how stupid quote-unquote woke warriors were, and they took to it. They're like, "Oh my God, it's a hate symbol." That being said, as I understand it, this image, the frog, is actually making that sign. Anyway, many designers came out against the image, and Berggren's response, including Cephalofair's Isaac Childress, Gloomhaven, and Eric Lang, Cthulhu, Death May Die, Blood Rage. There's a discussion thread on BGG, which is Board Game Geek, that was eventually locked. About this, and another BGG also made a detailed post about the history of controversies. It sounds like, again, armchair observation, looking at the situation. Board Game Geek does come up quite often, and it feels to me like they are kind of the resetera of tabletop, if I have that correctly. I don't know. The end result was Berggren being banned from Board Game Geek altogether, citing a history of behavior across multiple social media platforms that directly conflicts with the community values. So this is a thing too, and this is kind of a very current year situation where things that you say on another platform will get you banned someplace else. Now, they are a private company; they can ban whoever they want from their forums for whatever reason. But if this simply is about this image being, quote unquote, dog whistle, it's actually not true, even according to the ADL. And we've talked about this before, that this was a joke, a hoax started by 4chan to see how gullible people actually were, and they took to it. Now they're saying, the New York Times, which also says, gamers are a gateway to the alt-right. Fortnite is a gateway to the alt-right, which is why so many quote unquote woke brands are lining up to use Fortnite, right now as a marketing tool. But yeah, apparently it is, they're claiming it's being adopted by actual white supremacists, but the ADL themselves says it actually isn't. It actually isn't. Caution note for reasons explained below. Particular caution must be used when evaluating the symbol. Caution, because it 99% of the time is a joke. Now, if he is participating or partaking in other shenanigans, trolling people, being disruptive or whatever, then that's another thing. Now, Kickstarter, which is very quick to cut off funding to Yahtzees, campaign's still up, and it's actually going up. There it is. We can watch it in real time. It's still going up. So yeah, this is a fishing game. A fishing game. Tabletop game. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is where we've gotten with things. We saw this with WizKids too. WizKids parted ways with a game designer, a well-respected game designer too, if I remember correctly, because he posted some quasi-conservative views on Facebook. So if you post something on Facebook, privately even, that people don't like, then they're going to run and try to get you canceled. Again, as bad as comics can be, it's nowhere near what tabletop is. And going back to what happened with TSR, I mean, Gen Con preemptively banned them. I can tell you at this point, like, I have zero interest in going to Gen Con because it sounds like you can be banned for literally anything and also wind up getting punched in the head. So it's like, I'm sure the feeling is mutual given some of the stuff we've been talking about. But to me, again, this is kind of like with comics. This doesn't feel like it's actually about politics. This feels like it's literally about gatekeeping and fear and trying to control the narrative. We saw what happened just last week with, what was it, Thirsty Sword Lesbians, putting this tweet out there, we don't want bigots and homophobes buying our game. I'm like, the game is called Thirsty Sword Lesbians. I don't think you have any chance of homophobes and bigots buying your game. I'm just saying. So the tabletop industry has become for Twitter, by Twitter, and by way of Tumblr. I remember the Tumblr scene was really latching on to tabletop about 8-10 years ago. And I think Critical Role played a part in that. It wasn't the only thing. They just happened to be, I think, at the right place at the right time. In the right place at the right time. And they were sort of caught up in this zeitgeist of, a lot of fanfic writers and Tumblrinas, using Dungeons and Dragons as sort of an OC generation machine, and living out their fantasies through tabletop, which is completely fine. If you want to play that way, that's completely fine. But it went from that to demanding that Wizards of the Coast change the rules of the game, fire certain problematic people, et cetera, so Tumblr could basically have D&D. And the current version of D&D, as far as I'm concerned, is for Tumblr. It's a product for Tumblr, and it's being gatekept very well, even by the people at Gen Con, apparently, that you're not allowed to have any sort of differing opinion about anything. Even if you could keep games apolitical, that's a problem. If you say, hey, I want my games or my comics to be apolitical, that becomes a problem because you won't signal that you are on the right side of someone's political spectrum. What the fuck does it matter? If your comics are apolitical and you're not pushing people into your political views, or you put your political views out there and people are like, yeah, it's kind of batshit, but I like the guy's game, but there's a little batshit. I don't agree with that. I personally am not going to buy his game because I don't, I find him to be offensive, whatever. Let the consumers decide. I mean, if they said, hey, this fishing game, yeah, we're gonna take all the proceeds from this fishing game and we're gonna funnel it into some white supremacist group. Well, then, yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. But a frog making the OK symbol. I mean, let's open this up. Let's open this up. Like, seriously, this is what you're ass mad about. This is what you're ass mad about. And again, there were probably other reasons, and they were just looking for a technicality. And it's the same with the TSR cancellation at Gen Con. It was a technicality. I think that there were some people at Gen Con, connected to Wizards, most likely, that were kind of shitting their pants that a TSR with a Gygax on board was coming back, and with some old school D&D talent was coming back, and we couldn't have that. So they used the tweets and the drama going on as a reason to preemptively ban them. This is the tabletop scene, guys. And just like comics, what's going to happen out of necessity is we're going to have a parallel industry. Same thing is happening kind of right now with video games. Same thing is happening right now in comics to great success. People are just self-publishing their own stuff. Publishers don't want it. That's fine. We'll publish it ourselves. We get kicked off of one crowdfunding platform because the gatekeepers there don't like, some of the people they don't like the political views of some of the people making the content. That's fine. We'll go to another platform, or we'll build our own platform. Nobody is forcing anybody to buy anything. Nobody is forcing anybody to agree with anybody else's politics, except the people who are the gatekeepers, who are like, well, you can only believe this certain thing, or you're going to be banned from the industry. And that literally is gatekeeping. So all these years of complaints, we've heard from people saying that they were kept out of gaming, they were kept out of comics, kept out of video games by all the toxic white men. It's a boys' club, yada, yada, yada. We've heard it for years. I can give you many, many, many anecdotes of that not being true, by the way, and many other people can too. But, so now that they've gotten into the clubhouse, a lot of these people have decided they're going to be the gatekeepers, and they're doing exactly what they complained about for years. But again, it's all perspective. If you're in the catbird seat and you're in charge of a scene, you make sure that you keep out the undesirables. But if you're on the other side of it, you complain about, being kept out. But nobody's keeping anybody out. Again, there are so many ways to manufacture and distribute your stuff. But it's highly concerning that Gen Con, which is, the biggest gaming convention out there, I believe they are, is banning a CEO of pretty sizable company, I guess. They've got multiple retail locations. They publish their own games. So, but that's who they are. I mean, that's one thing I've learned this year, is that Gen Con is very ban happy and very gate kept. And, it's okay. I think another convention will come up alongside them and bump them out, because it has to happen. This is pretty ridiculous, guys. Over a fucking frog? Are you kidding me? I'm gonna wrap it up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.